ladies and gentlemen.
And welcome back to the Moody Maximalist in training. Today I'm working on a little project that was inspired by Liz Fenwick's DIY channel here on YouTube. She has a massive channel. If you're a crafty person, chances are you've seen her videos. So we're going to be making some DIY wall sconces, and I'm using primarily Dollar Tree products. As you can see here, I'm using some placemats. They are just black plastic placemats. I am using these because black is kind of my base color for this Moody DIY. I have some napkin holders that I'm using as the base for these sconces. They will be holding everything together. And then I also am using some rub and buff later on, some stencils from Dollar Tree. The rub and buff I had to purchase on Amazon. They don't sell it at the Dollar Tree, and they also don't sell the E6000 that you can see here on the side, or the hot glue and hot glue gun that I'll be using later on. So what I'm doing here, I'm cutting these placemats down to size so that they will fit around the rounded portion of these napkin holders. Again, will be using 2 of the napkin holders as the base for my wall sconces. And in case you're wondering about the lighting and where the lighting will come from, I did order some puck lights from Amazon. Dollar Tree carries them as well, but I wanted some that are first of all rechargeable and don't use batteries, and then also that are battery operated. So that's why I use the Amazon ones, but you can also use the ones from Dollar Tree. So I'm cutting down these placemats here and making sure they fit. I definitely cut them a little bit too short, I would say. I should have left a little bit more room just to give me more room to work with. So that was the first lesson I learned from this little project. But these stencils here that I found, these are not stencils, transfers that I found at Dollar Tree, I bought them primarily for the floral designs on there. I have no use for the letters for this project, but I'll probably use them later. So I like the gold look of these. That's kind of what I had in mind for these sconces. So the black and gold look was what I wanted to go with. I'm using one of those little scraper tools. I got this, I want to say, from the Dollar Tree as well. They definitely have them there. And I'm just cutting them out and arranging them in no particular order with no particular pattern in mind. I just wanted them to look nice. You'll see that here. Unfortunately, my camera crapped out on me. And so this is a little bit later when I finished rubbing all these stencils onto the placemat, and here I'm going in with the rub and buff. I believe I'm using the antique gold. I don't want to say I used too much of it, even though it looks like that on here, but the problem was that these placemats are sort of textured, and I think they were really just like, the rub and buff was holding on to that texture really well. So I had to go in later and just tone it down a little bit more, just because I wanted to look a little bit more natural, kind of like fading in, fading out, that sort of like bronze, antique gold, withered and aged look. They're not perfect by no means. Nothing on this channel is perfect for now. I'm showing you my fails, my successes, and everything in between. So I'm just taking you along for the ride in case you were wondering. I'm not a professional crafter by any means. I have a cluttered and very small workspace, as you can see here. So I hope you're not getting dizzy as you're watching me. So basically what I'm doing is I'm going in with a rub and buff. Then I'm going in with some black chalk paint just to take it down a notch. And one thing that I've learned just from watching a lot of crafting videos is that when you're working with paint, the beauty of it is that you can always go back in, add a different color, go over it again, add a second coat, spray paint something that completely went sideways. So that's the beauty of it, and that's what I was doing here. Now for one of the more challenging parts, attaching these 2 napkin holders together to build a base for my wall sconce. So I had my E6000 ready to go, and I actually ended up starting with the hot glue just to kind of hold them in place. It looks a lot more smooth and easy in the footage here, but I was struggling, you guys. I was struggling keeping these two napkin holders connected to one another, not fall apart whenever I would move them. I was struggling getting the E6000 in all the right places, and that stuff, by the way, when they tell you sit in a well ventilated room, they are not lying. Definitely make sure you have a window open nearby. I could smell that for days, so definitely keep that in mind. What I'm doing here is just adding some zip ties just to keep things in place while the glue is drying. If you're wondering why I'm applying glue with this little spatula thing, it's because I left it open and there was a big like blob on my little crafting mat here. Again, we're far from perfection. I'm just leaving this footage in here just to show you what's going on. So after I have somewhat attached these, I'm trying to attach these pug lights, which turned out to be another challenge. They kept coming off. It took a while for them to just stay in place. So it's, you know, it's kind of natural and logical that this very small surface from the napkin rings, it would be hard for anything to stick to that, even with super glue and, hot glue and E6000. So all of that was a challenge in and of itself, but once it was all in place and kind of staying where it needed to stay, the E6000 did its job and, you know, attached everything. Next part of the challenge, attaching the placemat to these rings, which also turned out to be difficult, partially because this plastic material, it does not want to stay rolled up, and maybe I should have rolled it up before. There's the pug light coming out, to just kind of make it bend a little bit more. But yeah, I was really struggling here holding this in place, making sure the hot glue would just keep it where it needed to be, adding a little bit more E6000. This was very frustrating. You cannot see my frustrated face, but trust me, the frustration was palpable. So aside from that, I also had glue all over my fingers. I mean, it was bad. So anyway, that was quite the endeavor. Here I'm going back in to reattach this pug light. I also attached them in a way that I could easily access the charging port when the time came to take them down to charge them. All right, making progress. Everything is mostly in place here. This is what it looks like from the back, and because I did not trust this whole glue situation, I actually went in and added some additional electrical tape just to keep everything in place, both while the glue was drying and also beyond that. Again, not ideal, but we're making it work, and in reality, nobody's gonna see the back of this thing, so it doesn't really matter how messed up it looks. But yeah, I thought this was going to be a very easy project, and even the easy project turned out to be challenging for me. So this was a very humbling experience, but hey, it looks really pretty if you don't look at the back of it. Here I'm testing out the remote. That's all working. It was working on both of them. So I'm just adding some more tape here, making sure everything stays in place. I will say I do really like the look of these. They did come out the way I had hoped, but I'm not too convinced that this placemat was the best choice for material. Fabric on like some sort of grid situation would have probably been a little bit better choice, but here we are. Now attaching these to the wall has been another struggle. I added the picture hanging strips from Command, the ones with the Velcro, and they are staying in place on the sconce. I added some extra tape, but spoiler alert, this thing has already come off the wall. wall twice, so I'm still looking for a different way to attach this to the wall, but it is very pretty. It does look very pretty. The lights are working, although they do randomly shut off, which is less ideal. But yeah, thank you for joining me for this first little project. I hope you had fun and maybe you were inspired and maybe you got a good laugh out of it. I will see you very soon. Bye.